Hello folks, welcome to YouTube. It's your boy Josh, and today we're going to be going through a new type of tier list. This is the alignment chart on the tier list maker, and we're going to be doing a two-factored tier list from the 1.0 characters all the way down to the 2.4 and even 2.5 characters in speculation of the potential next Void Hunter. That's right. This is not the hot and crazy scale. I am sad to say this is not the hot and crazy scale. We are not around and finding out. We are going to make this alignment chart, this tier list based off of and the performance level of the character. So if they are easy gameplay and high performance, we're going to put them in this upper right hand corner. If they are hard and low performance, we're going to put them at the bottom left. So let's start with Ambi. Is an easy gameplay, but low performing character. She is one of the worst performing stunners in the game, yet her gameplay is very, very simple. You basically just basic attack and then get to her electric charged attacks, swap her out, and then get an assist and do it all over again. Ambi, as the beginner stunner character, it just makes sense that she's there. There is a range between this character. He is somewhat easy to play, yet his ceiling can be somewhat higher than you would expect. His performance isn't necessarily always reflective of how much effort you put in. So I would put him at like a right here. Like there are easy parts, yet you can aim for like, you know, high difficulty gameplay, and you've seen very, very, very masterful Billy runs before. I might move some of these characters around intermittently, but for now, this is where I'll put him. Nicole, this is a character with easy gameplay and high performance. I would say maybe not as easy as you might think, but like easy enough to where anybody can pick up her, press an E skill, press an ult, and then run with it. Yet she does have some very timely, you know, you have to put her in very timely positions for you to maintain her buff. So, you know, she's not 100% easy mode, but I would argue that she has great performance for the amount of investment that you need to put in. A lot of people don't know how to play her correctly though. And that's the part. Her gameplay isn't hard. That's the thing. We need 3 dimensions: the floor, the ceiling, and the difficulty of gameplay. I don't know how I would make a 3D tier list, but I would love to make a 3D tier list. A cube map, yes. She's a lot easier to pick up and use to get the most out of her gameplay, and she actually has high performance. Hey folks, it's Post-Edit Josh here to tell you about the sponsor of this video, LD Shop. Now, LD Shop has been gracious enough to provide us with some fun perks while we top up to 35% off of our favorite games. Almost any mobile game you play can be found here with bundles for bundles. Wait, that's kind of genius. And off of your first purchase, LD Shop wants to make you a customer for your gacha stay. So they're giving you a top up starting at 22%. All you need to do is take your ID, region, and enter your payment method, which they have it all, and boom. Yeah, you can't miss out on even more savings because I have an additional 15% off code if you use the link below with an extra 5% coupon for later. Take a look at the Internet passes. They are $3.60 versus your regular $5. That money adds up, folks. So make sure to drop by LD Shop by clicking the link in the description for exclusive perks and discounts. And thank you to LD Shop for sponsoring this video. Corin's actually can perform very well, but I would say her gameplay is quite difficult because she is a little bit clunkier than some of the rest. I'll put her like maybe like right here, right there, because there are definitely characters that perform better than her these days. Let's put him like right there. You don't use him, but he's literally the lowest performing character. Anton, he has quick swap. Anton does have quick swap. So that makes it a little bit difficult if you want to reach somewhat of a decent performance. So I'm gonna put it like right there. Corn still will perform better though. He's a little bit tougher to play, so we're shifting him a little bit left. Corn, out of all these players, I'd argue is the most difficult to play aside from Anton. So that's why she's kind of in the middle-ish. Sokaku. There are somewhat easy parts to the kit, yet she actually is quite hard to use. Even though you might think, oh, she just presses E, right? You're not gonna get the most out of her if you just press E. You gotta press E very, very timely. You gotta have the right build for her, which arguably you don't really need to have right builds for these characters. You need to have the right build and right thresholds for Sokaku. So building her is definitely a factor. And the amount of text, exactly, the amount of different moves and ways that we're able to use Sokaku nowadays days, especially in Mono Ice, makes her a very high performance character, but it is very well worth it to use her. Quote unquote, the Bennett of Zenless Zone Zero. Then comes Lucy. Lucy does have some interesting parts of her kit, but she's on the relatively easier side. I would say for support, she's kind of the baseline. She's kind of the baseline because most supports actually do still perform very, very well. So I would say in the performance factor, we'll put her right there in the middle, and we'll put her on the slightly easier side because most of her kit is revolved around just making sure that your boars are out. Then Pippi, not as easy as you would think because again, you got to make sure you manage those power stacks, especially one that's, standing the test of time. Really, Piper has been, and again, that's thanks to her elements and her classification, but she has withstood the test of time since 1.0. And that's there's something to be said about that to put her in a decently higher performance level. Nekomata. Now, I have to grade most of the S rank characters at M0. That's just, how it goes with your list. If I gave M1s to characters, then it would be unfair. So I'm gonna put her in a slightly lower performance because Corrin, I believe, can perform better at M0. And her gameplay is actually pretty easy, so we'll put it right there, just shy above Billy, because Nekomata can perform a little bit better than Billy in most stages. Kaleda, easy gameplay, highest performance. I wouldn't say so. I'd say she's better than, I'm gonna put her right there. Just slightly underperforming right now, but easy gameplay, quite easy gameplay, like right next to Ambi, if I were to talk about ease of gameplay. Very, very, very simple. Grace. This is a low performance and somewhat difficult character to use because you could say, oh, does ease of play mean you could just spam her abilities and something comes out? Then if so, then that's easy. But Grace, if you want to, lift her off the ground and actually make her do something, it's quite difficult to actually maintain the stacks and apply Electro properly. And the rotations will actually depend on the anime. Granted, you could always basic E, but Grace, yeah, I feel bad for Grace. Feel quite bad for Grace. Lycon, higher performance and ease of play is not as easy, but again, not that shabby. I'd say Lycon is in a great position right here. Let me just put him down a little bit right there. Perfect. Rena, lower performing especially at M0. But ease of gameplay is very easy. Also very, very easy. Put her right there. Because she's kind of in a blend with Lucy-ish within the same realm, just covering different niches. Soldier. I would say Soldier right there. Just slightly above the level, especially now in this DA where, we are seeing some fire weak enemies. This benefits Soldier. I mean, Soldier can participate in these stages. It's possible for her. Then we're coming on the rest of the original cast here, Ellen Jo. And now we're talking about reworked Ellen Jo. This is not old Ellen Jo. This is reworked Ellen Jo. And I think reworked Ellen Jo is actually a little bit hard in gameplay and slightly high in performance. Right there. Just because, again, she did get a little bit easier. She got less clunkier. But to understand how she moves and to actually utilize a lot of her newer reworked kit, you're going to need a little bit of ball knowledge. But she is slightly higher performing than she was earlier. Then I would put her right there. But now she's like a little bit right here. So, a good rework for Ellen Jo, I'd say. And puts her in contention now with some of the offensive characters. Is she really, really good? No. Is she tier 1? Usable? Able to clear content? Yes. Next, Juyen. Now, Juyen is a hard, difficult character to play if you want to max her out because, again, she is very reliant on that stun window. But is she a high performer? Yes. And in these stages, I would say not really. Juyen hasn't really, found her way too much. I would say she's in the middle of hard gameplay, and her performance is at like a B tier. It's okay. It's not that great. She'll compete, but still not that great. Ellen Jo edges her out right now just because there's quite a few ice and attacker oriented content. Qingyi now is pretty easy in terms of gameplay. There's something to be said about, making sure that you dodge and make sure that you get your stuff out. So I would put her like right there. Actually, you know what? Lycon does perform better. I'm gonna put Lycon slightly higher and put Qingyi right there. Like she's at the level of like medium easy gameplay, but the performance is at like a tier 1 level. Lycon is pushing the 0.5. Arguably, I could say that Lycon is, arguably the 0.5 level, but we'll keep him there for now. You would say that Jane Doe is right. She's a little bit easier to use, I'd say. She has a lot of dodges that can get you out of a pickle. And she has a slight, ever so slightly higher ceiling. Ever so slightly higher ceiling, at least as of now. Yet, if you were to factor in Mindscapes, obviously, she would jump up. The 12 cost monophysical team is absolutely disgusting. Now, talking about a character who has hard gameplay, but slightly middling performance, and that is Seth. Seth is quite hard to use. Not a lot of people like Seth. He's slow, he's clunky, he has some utility to him, but that utility is pretty much a lot, you know, a relic of the past. Caesar King. I don't know if people are gonna hate me for this. I think she has super easy gameplay right there. She's an okay buffer. She allows for the easiest of gameplay. So she's at like the, she'll bump on the right side, max easy gameplay. Yet her performance is just slightly above the level of Lucy. And that's realistically pretty acceptable. I'd like to think. Arguably, I could like just boop right there. Meanwhile, Bernice has fallen out of favor a drastic ton. She is somewhat easier to play, but her performance is not very good. So I put her like right there. She's slightly under the average, yet she's still easier to play than some other characters, but still managing her flame stacks is somewhat difficult. And, you know, again, energy regen or anomaly buildup is something you have to balance with this character. Okay. What do you mean below average? She isn't performing very well. She's getting picked up a lot. She isn't performing as well. She's below average. Piper performing a lot better, easier to use, right? You don't have to manage as much, especially when Bernice is off field, which is so much harder to manage a character versus when they're on field. Vivian overshadowed her 100%. We'll get to Vivian in a little bit. Yeah. And talking about a character who is better off field and even better on field is Yanagi. Now, Yanagi is quite the difficult character to use if you want to use her properly, but she has very high performance, I would say. She's at a 0.5 performance and slightly harder than the average difficulty. But again, that's only because due to the fact that she has stance switching and she has two different types of parries. She has the parry and the sway into the parry. And if you don't know which stance you're on, which half the time I don't, then you're going to have a very, very difficult time to time those parries. Other than that, her E skill is very, very intuitive. Just making sure that you time the ICDs on the attribute anomalies, and her ult is very self-explanatory. Yes. Are you using matchups to judge performance? Yes. And historically, electric characters have had very, very solid matchups. And a character who is an anomaly who can pair with a Miyabi, or she can go solo and go hyper carry. She has a very, very mixed bag of gameplay and why she's so touted as, you know, one of really the defining characters of Zenless. A character who can like do a little bit here, do a little bit there, and with higher levels of gameplay can succeed very well. Yanagi is a great poster child to represent that ideal. Next, Lighter. Pretty easy to play. So we're gonna slide him over here. And high performance. He's not the easiest character to play, but he is pretty easy to play. One of the highest ranked characters to date, aside from, you know, the Sakaku, but again, she's hard gameplay. Lighter is really easy gameplay and high performance. Just understand that he has his niches. Just understand that Lighter has matchups, and even with matchups that you feel like that might be a little bit against him, because of the fire res that he has, you can still make him work. Haramasa. This is a hard gameplay, but can do very well. Arguably one of the hardest characters out of this entire cast. And if you want to get him above 14 quivers per stun window, you're going to need to work. You are going to need to work for it. So I'll put Haramasa as one of the hardest characters to play, but still a tier 1 character, especially in the meta of electric attackers. You see that Sambi is working circles around Defiler. So Haramasa, let me go right there. Next, Astra Yao. Astronomically easy and high performing. It's very easy. Come on, it's Astra Yao. You press E and then she grants you perfect assist. Come on now. And then let's say, oh, you want to use Eve with her. Then let's consider Eve being the hard character, but the high performance character. Arguably, she's less difficult than Sokaku because Sokaku has anomalies to manage, which, you know, attackers, they have their line. Once you build the line, then you're fine. With Sakaku, anomalies, it's not always consistent. So I'll put Eve at high performance, maybe like right there, you know, slightly not on the average level of difficult. I would say just slightly a little bit easier, especially since you can very well clear with 3 to 4 chains per stun. and you can get a great score. All right. The super top end player is getting 5 to 6 chains, especially the old double chain tech, 100%, right? You can very, very easily find ways to optimize her from 3 chains, 4 chains, 5 chains, then 6 chains. And depending on what level you want to build yourself up to and what level of skill expression you want to express, you know, she can perform very well. That's why she does have the expert tag, right? Miyabi. There's no question. Right now, I would say Miyabi's kind of like right here. She's not really performing at the tier 0 level. I'd say she's performing at the 0.5 level because right now a lot of content does not favor her. And if you were just to use the score as a reflection of how she's performing, she's only getting like 20, 30s, maybe 40Ks if you're really pushing her. But does that mean she is bad? No, she's still a high performer and she's very easy to use. One of the easiest characters to use. Yet, she does have some difficult parts to her kit that are integrated with mono ice, but overall, she has the most iframes in the game. She has an ability that literally makes you go invincible and does damage for like 3 seconds in a row with the charge 6. It's ridiculous. Miyabi is one of the easiest characters to pick up and play, and she has high performance. The recent content is copium for Miyabi, but still performs well regardless. Yes, the narrative around Miyabi is very doom and gloom. I understand that a lot of people see Miyabi falling out of favor and they drastically undershoot her. She's still performing well. She can still clear content and content that is neutral to her. And arguably, she's doing well on Miasmic Fiend because there isn't a favor towards physical anymore. It's just generalist anomaly, which granted, she isn't too much of an anomaly character, but Anby chat, Anby. Slightly on the easier side. I wouldn't say too difficult. Slightly on the easier side. Slightly higher performance. I like this spot for Sambi. Sambi with the rework is a lot smoother to use. Oh, thank God. And with a lot of her abilities with the border or whatever thing, with her chain attacks now becoming aftershock, she just does more aftershock. She's a lot more consistent to keep up her buffs. She does a little bit more damage because of it. None of her multipliers really drastically change, but the fact that she can just deal more damage and the flow of her kit feels nicer is good. Granted, the EX being, fat fingered half the time is a little bit monka, but that's not the, worst worry to have. Hokra, easy character and great performance. I would say she's at the level of Qingyi, depending on the team. Right there, actually. Right there. Trigger. I shill Trigger. I am the #1 Trigger shill. High performance. She's not the highest performance, so I'll put her like right there. I like her right there. She works on a lot of teams, and I feel as though she can perform better than the Lycon per teams, and she's a lot more flexible. All right, that might be my glaze. That's my one glaze, chat. Give me one character to glaze, and it's Trigger. Next, Viv. High performance, easy gameplay. Actually, I would say, okay. You would think that Vivian is somewhat easy gameplay, but managing those bloom stacks can be difficult, especially if you move up to the higher levels. Because if you're doing less anomalies, then you don't have to manage much with Vivian. But if you're doing as many anomalies as a Miyabi disorder comp does, a high-end Yanagi comp does, then you're gonna have trouble managing it. Viv gets and scales in difficulty with the anomaly paired. The higher performance the other anomaly character, the higher performance she can get to, but that increases the difficulty of managing those bloom stacks. I wouldn't put her at completely easy, but again, she is high performing for sure. Hugo, easy performance, easy gameplay, lower performance. I feel bad. He's just not doing. Hey folks, it's Bow-Sided Josh, and here I definitely gave a little too little to Hugo. If you guys want to see the slightly edited list of me actually reshuffling, not necessarily reshuffling, but relocating a lot of these units, I do have that list at the very end of the video. So if you guys are feeling gaslit with Hugo's placement right now, I definitely feel it. He's definitely not underperforming that much, say Lappy for the video, but you guys will be able to see the final version of the tier list at the very end of the video. Yishen, the Void Hunter level investigator. Now, where do we put Yishen? She's a high performer for sure, yet her gameplay can be quite difficult. And in the sense of the depth, I would say there's some depth, but more than depth, it's complexity. The menu of attacks that Jshoea has makes her complex of a character. I wouldn't say there's too much depth to the character, but the difficulty comes in the complexity of the menu, of the sheer amount of attacks that she has. She has a very, very good offensive kit, and she's able to keep so much pressure, yet at the top end, Jshoea is difficult to play. I think this is a little bit more balanced, because Jshoea definitely takes the cake at tier 0. So Kaku's like a 0.5. You don't know what the hell you're doing. All right, just because you might be doing something, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And let's be honest, her damage, right? You still need to make sure that you're doing your chain attacks, your EX specials, making sure you're managing your bar, make sure you're managing the adrenaline, make sure you get that the yin and yang stack, whatever, blah blah blah. She's up there. Panyinhu, easy to play right now because Rupture is quite relevant. I'll put him like right there. Panyinhu is so easy to use. Let's be real. That's not even, he presses Z. Come on. One of the easiest characters to use. You press E, swap them out. Jufufu. She has some mechanics associated with the aftershock that you want to manage. She doesn't have the greatest amount of days, yet she's high performing because all those things within her kit come together to pair so synergistically with a lot of the more meta, offensive characters now that she still finds success. Whereas I could see other characters, Dylan, having greater potency and having easier kits. But I digress. I'm gonna put her right there. Jshoea. Easy gameplay, high performance. There's no doubt in my mind she's easy peasy. And right now, she's doing really, really well for herself. Alice, she's not crazy easy, but there are quite easy parts to her kit, and she's a high performer. So she'll go right there. Seed. Let's say she's quite neutral. There's some difficult parts to her kit that you need to manage, especially because the basic charge attack is something that you always want to, so I'll put it like right there. Yeah. Orphe. Ooh, would you guys say Orphe is easier or harder than some of these characters in the middle here? As an attacker, you don't need to do crazy combos with her, so that makes her a little bit easier, but managing the stacks is quite difficult, but she has a really, really good performance record so far. So, Lucia. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You just press E and maybe manage the stack. So, okay, you manage the stack, you put you right there. Like right there. Slightly better than Astra, as you can see. The difference is just ever so slight because right now she's meta and she's slightly more difficult to play. Just because, again, the managing of the stack is a little bit more difficult than Idyllic Cadenza with Astra. Minato. Slightly difficult, yet great performance right now. Especially with the Rupture comps. I put him right there. Yidhari. We're coming up on the modern day, chats. Yidhari. High performance. Difficult character to play. She's not necessarily expert tag in the sense that like, oh, she's difficult, but she does have the ticking time bomb of an ult. Remember, 30 seconds to ult. So you got to time that properly. And you got to make sure that you understand your opponents. So you have to parry. So, however you want to weigh that around, Evelyn's combo is to be determined, but the performance is pretty damn good. So I'm gonna put her like right there. And then Yishen's poking her head out. This is my tier list of the easy and hard gameplay and high and low performance, but I would like to make some speculations. I would like to make some specaloos, chat, about what I think about the 2.4, 2.5 characters. As of this recording, we have yet to jump into the special program, which should be next week. And I want to take a look at these 3 characters. Dylan. Now, I assume Dylan is going to have some portions of her kit that align with Rupture. Now, do I know her exact buffs? Do I know her exact kit? Not necessarily, but I want to place her like right there. I would think she's a slightly easier on the scale to play and high performance. I would like to think that she might be one of our best stunners to date. Banya. I don't know what the heck he does, but he looks super sick. I want to say he's high performance, but I want to say he's on the neutral scale. I don't know what he does, but I'm just going to keep him neutral for now because I don't know whether he's going to be super difficult or super easy. I'm going to keep him neutral because genuinely I don't know what the hell he does. But I can assume as a Rupture character, he's going to be very high performing, slightly better than Yidhari. My new wife, Ye Shun Guan. I want to say that There's going to be some complexity to her kit. Now, to what archetype she is will definitely heavily influence what type of playstyle she has. She's defense. I would be actually weirdly excited if she was defense. To make a defensive character actually function so well that it changes the narrative about defense. Let's go, I think on the easy scale, she's not as easy, but she's definitely a high performer. And then after Yesh and Guan chat, we gotta add the bunny. There, I'm just gonna add that screenshot. I don't know if that works. Zhao. I don't even know what she is. Is she a stunner? Is she a support? Is she a whatever? I don't know what the heck she is, but I'm assuming that she's gonna be easy, but yet not the greatest performer. So I'm gonna put her like right there. I'm putting her in like a tier 1 performance. All right. I don't think she's going to have too complex of a kit, but I think the ceiling is going to be where that is, around a tier 1. As so far as a 2-tiered tier list chat, as of 2.3 or the end of 2.3, this is what I'll call the performance to gameplay, the skills tier list. What do you guys think of our evaluations of these characters? Let me know down in the comments. We did a pretty good job of dissecting a lot of these characters. And again, there are nuances to these characters, especially when it comes to like low floor, low ceiling, high floor, high ceiling, low floor, high ceiling. If I could, I would move this tier list into 3 dimensions. And you know, if I could ever figure that out, I definitely will make another follow-up tier list to that. I think I'm pretty happy with this tier list. And it goes to show you that there are not a lot of characters that are too difficult to pick up, yet we did talk a lot about characters who at the top end have a stark difference in gameplay, speed, tempo, pressure, you know, incentivizes those who are, you know, more skilled or those who want to invest more skill-wise into the game. They want you to diversify. They want you to have some attackers. They want you to have some ruptures. They want you to have some anomalies. And that's very reflective of the current day content. There's a lot of variety that invites us to play the game differently and to have different experiences with the game, which is kind of what you want, you know, in a video game. But let me know what you guys think about this 2-tiered tier list, this 2-factor tier list. Let me know down in the comments what you think. This is a new style of tier list that I wanted to try out, just because, you know, the nuance with a 1-level tier list isn't really enough. I think this is a great reflection, and honestly, I want to go 3D for crying out loud. I want to add more dimensions. If you guys like this, I definitely will do more. Thanks so much for watching. It's your boy Josh, and make sure to join us on twitch.tv where we actually did this live. So wave bye, chat, wave bye. Thanks, folks. Hexagonal tier list.